Let's turn science fiction into science. What is a computer chip doing this close to your delicate brain? Why is it there? And what are those yellowish things? Are they connecting the chip to my brain? Do I get superpowers? Is this possible or just a fantasy? And how does this baby frog with an eye on its butt shows the way for humanity's future and control over our own body shapes? Let's do a mind experiment. This wrinkled outer part is the cortex. The cortex is responsible for processing vision, auditory, and higher level thinking and planning and speech articulation. Let's take out a chunk of it. Let's give it to a super engineer to recreate every input and output signal that this patch of cortex is responsible for on a computer chip. Now put the chip in the brain. Without any medical scans, will the patient be able to tell? Will anything be subjectively different? What if we expanded the replaced area a little bit more, and a little bit more, until the whole brain tissue is replaced by a non-organic computer? Let's get a lay of the map. These are your optical nerves, taking input from the eyes. This part processes the input from the eyes. This part processes input from the ears. And around here is where you articulate speech. Imagine if we had complete access to these data streams and you could connect them directly to your tech. I'm talking about a very high bandwidth, low latency brain-computer interface. It will be an inside-out approach, as in your neural tissue and brain grow new nerve fibers and connect to a subdermal chip instead of an outside-in approach, which involves putting a hole in your skull and sawing metallic threads into your delicate brain, which will get rejected and causes inflammations and a lot of other problems, like Neuralink. This inside-out approach doesn't put any holes in your skull, no need for surgery or risk of rejection. These are your own cells. They interface with the computer chip as naturally as your brain interfaces with your spine. Let me help you imagine some of the day-to-day experiences and life boosts you'll have with this technology. You can have infinite eidetic memory. You can communicate with all-knowing AI systems and humans across the world millions of times faster than you can type or talk. You don't need to take out your camera and find good lighting. Anything you see by your command can be read from your optical nerve directly and stored in the cloud. Same for any sensory experience. Smell of a flower or person, sound and music, touch and sensation. They all can be stored, replayed, and shared across the world. Speaking of sensing things, you can sense much more. Information about a person appears next to them in your field of vision, hearing translations in real time while they speak. All these capabilities are to some degree available already. The unique selling point of this biotech is integration and ease of use. From the outside, you're exactly the same. No one can tell anything is different from your outside appearance. Now, something very interesting happens. The line between skill and communication gets blurry. Imagine you can communicate with an all-knowing AI as fast as your two brain hemispheres communicated with each other. After a certain point, it is not just faster typing. Quantitative changes turn into qualitative changes. The skillful AI is as much part of your brain as any patch of your cortex is. From the outside, you're exactly the same. No holes in your skulls or heavy VR headsets, just a small subdermal chip and a few extra nerve fibers, all well protected by your bones and in no danger of inflammation or any health hazards, with the small change of having thousands of times more skills, memory, and empathy, because you can send and receive stories, knowledge, and experience with other humans gigabytes a second instead of few bits per minute, enabled by hand drawings and shaking air molecules, or previously known as speech. Think of the last time someone told you about an amazing experience they had. You wish you were there with them. You could experience this thing with them. Yet, they were not great storytellers. Or simply the fact that language can't express the richness of visual experience. Imagine how much you missed out. With this technology, you can. You can experience exact same things they experienced. You can download their sensations from the cloud and replay it directly to your brain. Isn't that amazing? When you have this level of technobiological integration, you will not need screens, microphones, and cameras. Your eyes are the cameras, and every bit of visual data can be read from your optical nerve. You can have a practical telepathy, as practical and everyday as calling someone on your phone. This is not magic. This is the exact same thing that happens when you call someone and talk. We just remove the inefficient step of moving air molecules around and go directly from brain to brain. A kid will be able to acquire the knowledge of all scientists in every field in days, not decades or never. This is the way of becoming a stellar civilization. Let's dive into the science of making this vision a reality. There is a silent revolution going on in biology right now. We are realizing that to control shapes and large-scale structure of tissue, organs, and bodies, we don't need to touch the genetics at all. We can do it by manipulating the electrical pattern present in tissues. Yes, electrical patterns. The same proteins and molecular machinery that gives your nervous system the ability to think and feel is present in almost all of the cells in your body, to some lesser degree. The ability to coordinate across large cell populations has relied on electrical patterns since 3 billion years ago, at the time of bacterial biofilms. It is really ancient, and the ion channels and gap junctions responsible for this electrical communication and coordination are some of the most well-preserved genes across all living beings. Just think of the fact that once upon a time you were a single-celled organism, and then just a group of undifferentiated cells called a zygote. You didn't have a brain or spine. How did you manage to organize your cells, telling them where to go and what to build? The electrical patterns that determine the shape of your parts and what goes where act on a larger time scale than your sub-second nerves. They keep the shape of your body, which doesn't change for many decades. Now, on the other hand, your nervous system has specialized to respond instantly to pain and danger in the environment. That's why the timescales of electrical patterns can range from milliseconds to decades. Some promising results of controlling body shape in non-humans by manipulating electrical patterns are the two-headed planarian and butt-eyed baby frog. Let me tell you something mind-blowing. Planaria reproduces by fission, which means the body just splits in half and each half grows the missing head or tail. Because of this, every genetic mutation that doesn't kill the cell it is in gets carried to the next generation. Unlike us, which only mutations in our gametes get transferred to the next generation. So because of this way of reproduction, a single planaria has immense genetic variety in its cells. Some cells even have different number of chromosomes. If such genetic variety was found in human tissue, it would be diagnosed as cancer. Yet planaria is immortal. It can regenerate its entire body from just a few cells, and it is extremely cancer resistant. Those are features that we love humans to have. This animal is the prime example of the importance of bioelectricity. It is as important, if not even more, than genetics at controlling large-scale shape. For a lot more scientific detail and deep dives, check out these two videos. The Lex Friedman podcast with Dr. Levin, and this lecture by Dr. Levin himself. Links in the description. And some final words. The fact that you have a spine, which is basically a high bandwidth interconnect for your body, is proof of this kind of brain-computer interface being possible. It's just a management and communication problem. as in how to tell your billions of cells to build the things you want. And bioelectricity is the best way of communicating to billions of cells and telling them what you want to build. Another interesting aspect of this tech is, like everything, it can be hacked. Not only by outside actors, but maybe by you against you. There are split brain patient experiments showing each of your two brain hemispheres can operate as an independent intelligence, or split personality disorder patients in which one personality may lock out the other one from accessing the computer chip. It will be an exciting merger of psychology and cybersecurity.